Hey divas, I'm a little bit sad because this was supposed to give golden hour moment, not ominous girl sitting in the car with only a light on her face, but daylight savings. And since I've been filming videos in the car on TikTok and on Instagram, I thought, why not bring it back to the car again? I have one of my emotional support animals in the car with me. Everything's gonna be just fine. Literally. Hi everyone, it's been a minute. Ooh, I have not been here since August 2025 and it is now November 2025, but I just had to come back on here. I had originally planned to take my break until next year, but I had this idea in the middle of the night. Welcome back to Anso Podcast, my podcast for ordinary people with extraordinary impact. Usually I'm on here with a friend, but today you're the friend. Congratulations. It's just me and you sitting chit-chatting. And it's gonna be so fun. I can't wait. And for a little bit about me, for those who don't know, I'm a creative girly from LA. I know, rare. Yes, I'm so unique, chasing unique dreams of wanting to be in film and TV in LA. And I created this podcast about a year ago because I really love being able to bring stories to life visually. And I especially have a deep passion for making others feel heard and seen and understood in our 20s with topics that may feel more embarrassing or niche to talk about, but are completely normal. And this series is inspired by my Instagram and my TikTok. Some of you may have seen the little videos. The series is called I'm 24 years old and have never been in a relationship before. And at first I only intended to make one video, but then it was like part 2, part 3, part 4, and I was like, okay, and what really got it for me is when Vogue released an article called Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? And it went super viral. And I was like, I fear the timing of this is too coincidental. So I'm super excited to get into my thoughts on that question. I hope you stick around for the conversation as we kiki. Get your favorite snack, tell your friend, pause the video, grab your friend, and start the watch party for the Sophie Wade podcast, period. And if you're listening, you can have a listening party, period. Some of the topics I'm going to be talking about in this podcast is my initial thoughts on reading the article, like my first impressions. And then I'm going to talk a little bit more about my story, about what my experiences have been like never being in a relationship before. And lastly, I'm going to be expanding more on some of the gems that I have dropped in my little videos so that I'm not giving you guys like little breadcrumbs of stuff that I can like actually give you like context and like what has practically helped me in these streets, because I was not always like this and I'm still always growing. So we have to like get this out while we're in this headspace, obviously. So this article was called Is Having a Boyfriend Embarrassing Now? By Shantae Joseph, which I don't know if this writer really anticipated how big this article was going to get. One quote that I wanted to share that stood out to me says, "From my conversations, one thing is certain. The script is shifting. Being partnered doesn't affirm your womanhood anymore. It is no longer considered an achievement, and if anything, it's becoming more of a flex to pronounce yourself single." And that had me gagged. This article also mentioned how a lot of people are starting to get icked out a lot by people who can fall into the category of being male-centered. And so this article was like asking a lot of questions too, like, is it cringy then to like post your boyfriend a bunch and like actually care? And in this dating landscape, I think seeing like National Girlfriend Day, National Boyfriend Day, Valentine's Day, all of those holidays, like the 50 holidays in one year that you see on Instagram, I can see why people are starting to get like a little fed up. I can't lie, I love seeing those. I do be liking the stories, but sometimes because there's so many national partner holidays, each one reminds me that like, oh yeah, I still can't participate in this day. That's lovely, that's amazing. I'm just gonna log off. And it also talked about how some people literally launch their hard launch that they're in a relationship on their literal like wedding day. Like they'll just drop their wedding pictures. I wish I was that mysterious, and maybe one day I will. I'm starting to get a little more mysterious. I'm starting to tell like a lot less people about my business, which God bless. God bless. But I do need a space to process. Which brings me into this question that I was thinking about a lot towards the end, which is what counts as being male-centered? I was afraid to be labeled as being male-centered with something as simple as just like talking about my crush. Like even just saying anything, saying a story, talking about interaction, I was just like, Oh my gosh, I'm so cringy. Here I am talking about a man, ew. And I will consume all this content that kind of talks about how male centered girlies are the ones that be hyping up like the bare minimum and bringing up a man into like every conversation. I get that. It makes sense. Like, it's good to, like, talk about other important things going on in your life as well, because it's so easy to get caught up in the lore. Trust me, I've been there. It's like, it can be so entertaining because it's just like, oh my God, there's always something new. But sometimes you end up knowing more about like somebody's love life than like who they are as a human being. And then that's where it's kind of just like, dang, okay. It is important to have balance. So that's like kind of my take on like what being male centered is like. But sometimes I get too scared that I'm gonna fall into that category that I'm just like, I shouldn't talk about my crush unless I'm asked. And if I'm asked, I should downplay it by like 20 million times. Like, what do you mean I get nervous around a man? What do you mean I'm going to you asking, like, what should I say in this message? Ooh, it's a lifestyle I could never put up with. Like, free me from the shackles of anxiety and stress. I can do it. So I guess my conclusion is having a boyfriend in general is not embarrassing. It's okay to want that. It's okay to post them. It's okay to talk about them. It's okay to hold them high in your life. What the article was also trying to get at, and what I also agree with, is that it can feel embarrassing to see the type of person you become. It can feel embarrassing to publicly post about how much you like somebody because you have no idea what's going to happen. You don't know how long it's going to last. You don't know exactly how the relationship is going to go. But since I obviously have never had a boyfriend before, hence my series, I wanted to give my take on what I could actually speak on. And God willing, I have plans to get different people on here who are on different stages of life and have like a little mini series on here, since it is cuffing season and I know that some of us are going through it. So I thought, why not crash out together slash learn together slash reassure each other together, because we are not going this alone. Like, are you kidding me? So, getting into a little bit of my own personal lore with having crushes growing up and what that experience has been like for me, because it's truly been unique. And I've talked about it a little bit on my podcast, but never really had a whole dedicated episode for that. And so, this is definitely different, but I feel like definitely needed. There's a lot more important things to talk about, and that's why I stay talking about different things on here, but this is also one thing that happens to be a big part of people's lives. So let's get into one, being single slash having a crush in your 20s feels embarrassing. First, let's go back to my roots, okay? So I'm going to tell you guys a little bit about the first crush that I've ever had in my lifetime. It actually is a really cute story. I have no idea where they are now, but in elementary school, there was this boy, let's call him Max. So Max, he was in my class, and a lot of the girls liked him because he was just a little icon in second grade. I don't know. It was Valentine's Day. My family was struggling a lot when I was a kid, so because of that, we could not afford to buy Valentines from the store. So I handmade little Valentine cards for everybody in my class. And that's part of the reason why I make homemade cards still to this day, because it's just so easy and it's cute and it's nice and it's like intentional when you can like make little designs and just like write your heart in. So I love writing cards. So I didn't mind writing 20 separate custom made cards and putting little drawings on the front of them. But I was still super nervous, obviously, because everybody else was giving out their little Gucci Valentines. Not actually, but like, that's what it felt like to me at the time, a little store bought Valentines with the nice candy. And I was handing them out, and it came to him, and I was like, I'm embarrassed. I'm embarrassed. This isn't my best work. And I gave him the Valentine. And I remember he was literally just like, oh my gosh, this is so cool. He showed his homeboy next to him. He was like, look what Sophie made. Wow, that's so cool. Thanks. I was like, oh my God, I'm not embarrassed anymore. Lo and behold, he was the one hyping me up. So literally, I feel like at my little age, God was already trying to teach me that I need to show up as my authentic self. And if people don't like it, then we were just not meant to be. Let's fast forward to middle school. Let's call this dude Ryan. So I like this dude named Ryan from my church. And for me, church crushes were just so serious because I was spending so much time with everybody, and I also like just saw myself being with somebody from church if I was gonna like be with them for a long time. So I was like very much super serious about those crushes, like way more than the school ones. And I remember one day I came to the yellow tables, right? Ah, you know what I'm talking about. If you know, you know. The yellow tables at the church I used to go to. There was a group of Ryan's friends sitting at the yellow tables, right? And then they were talking about how Ryan liked my best friend. I remember I felt crushed. And in that moment, I took that so personally. And it was the first time where I was in that situation where I liked a guy, he didn't like me back, but he wanted my friend. And I just felt like, oh my gosh, I'm just like not enough for him. And then I started like comparing myself to my friends. And that's just not healthy in these streets, okay? Because I was still enough even if he didn't choose me. It just meant that he wasn't attracted to me in that way, but there was nothing I needed to change about myself in that moment. Like, he just wasn't meant to be nothing more than my little church crush that motivated me to come back on the Sundays and pop up in the class with the goldfish. Like, that's all it was meant to be. Having a crush really can feel embarrassing because it really can feel so painful when you go through rejection, when you go through the butterflies, when you go through like, oh my gosh, this was such a good moment between us. I think it means this. And then you experience something else and you're like, actually, I don't think this person likes me or they see me in this way. And then you're like, am I the problem? Or it could just be so much more complicated than they like you or they don't like you, as we know, as we get older. And then, baby, let's fast forward to high school. I was a shy little girl. I was very shy, so I stuck very closely to the girlies. I've always felt in my soul that I was always naturally close with the girlies, with the guys. It took a little more effort. Like, I still wanted that. I wasn't like, ew, get away from me. Like, it was just like a little harder. Like, it didn't come as naturally. But growing up in church, it was a little bit different to have like close guy friendships there. It wasn't really normalized a lot. Like, you could really have your homeboys there that kind of felt like siblings, but there was some people where if you got close to them, people would assume that you were in love with them, or that person would assume you were in love with them, and you just like had a lot of eyes. Like, you couldn't really just enjoy the moment and vibe. You had a lot of eyes because everybody's minds went to the extreme, like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen between y'all two when we're not here? Like, what are y'all talking about? What are y'all plotting? When you just simply wanted to talk to them, you simply wanted to get to know them, you simply wanted to hang out. And it was highly encouraged to date within the church because of the scripture about being unequally yoked. So just wanted to set the scene for you before I get into this next story. Also, it's literally so dark in here if you're watching the video version. Sorry. So there was a boy that I liked. Let's call him let's call him Alex. At this time, I had gotten baptized when I was in high school and I made the decision to follow Jesus, period, which was amazing. There was also some new expectations, which makes sense, but some of them I would say slightly extreme, unnecessary, had nothing to do with Jesus anymore at that point. I think a little more with control and fear of the worst happening. And so I liked Alex, and just like Max, I was also embarrassed to give this crush a gift. I think I was also going through it financially at this time. I think he was like my secret Santa or something like that for one of the events we had. And so I got him a photo album and I was like, who's gonna want this? Like, who's gonna want a photo album when everybody else is bringing like a waffle maker, a gift card, all these like cute little things, right? And so I bring the empty photo book to the secret Santa and I remember I was sweating. I was like, bro, Alex is gonna hate me. Alex is not gonna like me. But now I'm just like, Alex better have appreciated exactly what he got. Hello? But, anyways, so Alex opened up the gift. His eyes widened. And I was like, what, Alex? What? What? And he was just like, oh my gosh, I needed this. Turns out Alex was a photographer in need of a photo album. So it was perfect for him. He was like, I've been needing a new one. He was like, who got this for me? I was like, me, me. Raised my hand so fast. I was like, it was me. Yeah, it was nothing. He was like, oh my gosh, thank you so much. She gave me a hug, and I was just like, thanks, God. Thank you for looking out for me for that moment. Hope core, show up as your authentic self. And then after that moment, I liked him even more. And this is when a bold, girly spirit just like awakened in me because I would never pull a move before ever with any of my crushes. I was too shy for that. But this was when bold girly Sophie started. And for people that know me in real life, you know bold girly Sophie. She has arrived before, like out of nowhere with no warning. And this was the moment when it started, okay? I was like, I really want to get his number. But the issue was that I was baptized and he was not. It was the culture to try to get like advice from like 10 different people there before you make any moves and to like talk through like every single decision and kind of like always have a middleman. And I was told like it wasn't a good idea because he kind of wasn't gonna like influence me in the right way because he wasn't baptized and like he was gonna be like a distraction. And I low-key need to admit now that I made it up that I was gonna be like, oh, like I was only gonna like text him to like invite him to our church event. Like that's all it was gonna be. I wanted his number so I could text him, hey, how are you? And we could get to know each other. Like I felt like a sinner. Like I was just like, wait, oh my gosh, I didn't mean to like make this weird. Like I just really wanted to get to know him. But I was told it wasn't a good idea. So I didn't end up getting his number. And I put the men that were inside of the church on a pedestal of being dang near the perfect candidates to have a long term, serious, safe, authentic relationship with. But yeah, so having guy friends, it was not very normalized. And when we tried to make it normal, it really wasn't. Like giving each other full hugs meant that, oh my gosh, you might be crossing some boundaries here. Like, let's just give each other side hugs, which I think in general, side hugs can sometimes be natural when you're like still getting to know somebody or if somebody isn't like big on physical touch. But if you guys are close and both people are comfortable with it, like what is wrong with giving a full hug? And when did giving a full hug become sexualized? Hello! It was very rare for people to actually date, and a lot of people actually ended up dating outside of the ministry, and it was just like this whole awkward thing because it was so hyped up if you got a boyfriend in church. Like it was, people reacted as if you were getting married and everyone went crazy, including me. I would love to like hype people up. I still love to hype people up, but because there was like so much strong attention around that, when it came to people who dated outside of the church or went on dates outside of the church, they weren't giving as much praise and attention because it was just like you're unequally yoked. Like you're dating somebody who either doesn't believe in God or believes in God but doesn't go to the same churches as. So pretty much have always seen like these men outside of church as like evil distractions. And our dates would be a little different from traditional dates. They were called encouragement dates, which were just the definition kind of changed a lot as I was there. Like some people would be like, oh, it's just hanging out. And then some people would be like, oh, it's just like a non-pressure date. And some people would just take their friends, some people would take strangers, some people would take people they actually liked. Some people would take people they liked multiple times, and then other girls wouldn't be taken out at all. And a lot of us girlies were very like committed to only going on dates with the guys within the church. So if none of them were taking us out, some of us, including your girl, started to feel a little bit like Shrek because I was like, oh my gosh, they don't want to take me out on dates. Is it because I'm not holy enough? I'm not spiritual enough? I'm not pretty enough? I'm not the only one who kind of went through a lot of those self-esteem issues kind of because of the way that worked. And so every single date that I've ever gone on in my life has been through church. I've never been on a date outside of that. And I've never been on a date. I've also said this in my podcast. I've never been on a date where it was just me and that person. On those encouragement dates, it was not encouraged to be alone with your date. So it can like get rid of any temptation for boundaries to be crossed, lines to be crossed with this person. You were always with another couple. Sometimes it would be a huge group, like 12 people. Okay, there was like no way you were gonna do anything alone. And there was a point where I was planning a lot of encouragement dates because I love planning. I realized that about myself. Now I just like plan like events, not dates. But it got to a point where I would be like the main one asking. And I just felt like odd about that. I just like started to crave like actual dates. But then I felt guilty for not planning encouragement dates because then people would start asking me like, "Oh, do you want to join like our encouragement date, like our group date, or like do you want to plan?" And I was like, not really. Like, not really. Like, I really want to encourage these other people here, and there's other ways to do that. I get the concept of because it's about looking out for people, giving people like a fun little experience, making people's day. I feel like I had some good memories from that, but didn't actually learn how to actually dates. Like some of the men would be giving chivalry is here and they'd be like ping, they'd be opening the doors, doing all those things, which should be the bare minimum. And we love when men do try to be chivalrous, but some of them wouldn't. And it kind of sucked. And it's fine. Some men, it doesn't even matter if you're in church or not. Some men are not like that. They will just show up and leave. And lastly, getting into college, I moved to a different ministry, so completely different set of people, new characters. I was like, oh my gosh, I'm definitely finding my husband here. And there was like so many times where I was like, oh my God, I literally like found him. Like he's literally like what I wrote in my Google Doc when I was 14. Like God literally heard me. And it quite literally was the opposite. But I did put this pressure on myself to like meet that person because I was like, I'm getting older and I still haven't been in a relationship yet. So I feel like this is the like expected age too. And it felt so embarrassing to have a crush and to care. And I remember there was so many nights where I was stressing out while I was crashing out over these men not texting me back. I had friends starting to get into serious relationships. There's some people even towards like the end of college slash beginning of post grad who started getting engaged and just had plans to get married. So I was starting to get embarrassed that I was dealing with things that I feel like people in high school or middle school would deal with. So I did feel like I was starting to fall behind. So I was starting to put more pressure. And because of that, I think I was starting to overlook a lot of red flags and things that were clearly a sign of incompatibility or just like that this person was not interested in being more than a friend. And it's nothing personal. They will find their person and I will find my person. I'll be fine. But yeah, my college crushes are feeling more recent, so I don't know how much I'm gonna get into those because those people I'm a lot more connected to. LOL, I want to respect them as well. So we're not going to get into the specifics of the college crushes, but just know that bold girl Sophie took over. I started being a lot more vocal about my feelings. A lot of friendships had changed. It was really sad and it had me thinking again about how like the guy girl friendships that I had growing up were just like weird or like hard to navigate, but I'm grateful that I got to learn like a lot more just about like the boundaries I have, the type of friendships I want to have, and the ways that I really want to grow and like my communication as well, and like seeing how much that can impact a friendship for the better, or it can completely change things where it's like, wow, nothing is like ever the same now that this is like been in light. I also feel like it's embarrassing when you mistake friendliness for flirtiness. And I grew up being around the friendliest people ever, which is such a privilege. But sometimes it would be so friendly to the point where you really couldn't tell, like, do you want me? Or are you just trying to be like encouraging in the name of the Lord? Because there was people that would literally do the most, the way they would talk about you, the way that they would speak about you out loud. It's just like, wow, this is like poetry. Like you're being like Shakespeare right now. And then they'd be like, oh yeah, I do that for all of the girlies. I want to make them all feel loved, which is everything. But you just have to be so careful and you have to like, it literally had me being like, what? At that point, when people would be like allegedly flirting, I was just like, oh, they're just being like really nice. They're really just trying to be like encouraging or something. And that's it. Like I was literally having a conversation with my girl Elon the other day. I was basically talking about how like I don't really know if somebody likes me unless they say it to my face. Like you have to be direct and you have to say it to my face because I will be direct with you if I really feel like it's worth saying something. But the people that are, shout out you because that takes a lot of bold energy that not everybody has. And I was telling her, like, yeah, girl, I need it to be direct. I don't want to be like confused. I don't want to be like the one that has to say it. Like, don't be passive, don't be nonchalant, be chalant. And she was telling me, she was like, girl, you like have no idea like the people who have liked you. Just because you don't hear it all the time, girl, it doesn't mean that you're not desirable. Your girl can't handle any more pieces of additional lore in her life right now, so I'm never gonna know exactly who those people are. Don't worry. It's a little, the setup is just like, let's not talk about it if you're on the video version, if you're on YouTube. So basically, with all of these fun little experiences, I think I've learned a lot as of right now. I'm 24. It's been 2 years out of school. I still have never experienced a relationship. I've never been on an actual date. And this is not therapy and this is not my diary. Your girl is just like here. There is a lot of things that could convince me that I'm so behind and that there has to be something extremely wrong with me to be in this position. And that's what it felt like at times. And something that I love recently, I've been taking a lot of notes from Tracy Ellis Ross, which I mentioned on my TikTok shout out. She is an actress and I found her through the show Blackish. And I think she's so funny, she's so likable, and I love how much confidence she carries and realness when she talks about her life experiencing singleness. And she still like goes on dates and stuff like that and has had partners in her past life. As of right now, she's just embracing her singlehood in her life and has talked a lot in the past about that. And it's really inspiring to hear somebody who's just like a successful Black woman doing her thing, who pours so much love into others in her life, that's just also talking about the reality of the joys of being able to see like how much more beauty is in life still, like outside of a relationship, but also acknowledging the grief that can come with that as you get older and as you continue to see like people around you who are maybe starting to get married or they have all these like plans. And some people, they don't want to get married or they don't want to start a family, which is like perfectly fine. They're perfectly okay with that. Some people, that's a dream that they have that feels no longer realistic to them because of their past with dating or when they look at the dating landscape now, which I think everyone can agree that dating now is even harder than it was back then, okay? And I can still get so shy. I've talked about this before on here. I can still get so shy when it comes to approaching people. I'm like, you literally need to come up to me. But then when people come up to me, I'm just like, how do I like process this and navigate this? Like, I wish I was a nonchalant girl. I'm not. I'm not nonchalant. I'm chalant. Like, I care, okay? I care. I care. Like, so I know that it can feel lonely sometimes in that journey, and it can feel embarrassing to be in a place where you feel like you have less experience than other people, or just like feeling like you yourself have like failed of where you want to be in life. And I think it's so good to grieve what you thought this part of your life was going to be like. If you thought like you were going to be in a relationship by now, you thought you were going to be married, give yourself that time to grieve that reality. That's so good. And it's so valid because it's okay to have these dreams. It's okay to desire something with somebody. And if it doesn't happen, that's hard. It can feel like, oh my gosh, I'm back at square one, even though you have continued to grow. And that situation was not a waste. It's literally adding to who you are and shaping you to who you will be as an individual. And if you decide to date again and want to be in another relationship, it will shape how you will show up in those relationships as a different person, as a more evolved person, as somebody who has experienced more things and sees things in a complete different perspective now. So the first thing that I had mentioned in my TikTok and my Instagram, which if you don't follow it, it will be down below, but TikTok is Ansoph, ANDSOPH, and Instagram is AnsopHpod, ANDSOPHPOD. Feel free to join me on there so that you can see these little gems before the podcast comes out, because I'm way more consistent on there than on here. So the first point that I talked about is how attention from others is a reminder of who you are, but it is not the confirmation of who you are. For example, this is something I need to remind myself still of, okay? So no shame in any of this because I am still growing and working on it. It's just things that I've actively realized and been like, girl. So This first thing, getting attention from people, it's nice, it's fun, period. Most of the time. Sometimes it's not fun and it's just like scary. But when it's good attention, pure attention, it's nice. So, but with that, if you are the type, either you get a lot of attention or you don't get a lot of attention. For me, I did not get a lot of attention growing up. It has kind of shifted weirdly in post grad. I don't know why, but it's still not an overflow of attention still. So if somebody calls you like beautiful, they give you that compliment. It doesn't mean that in that moment, that person just confirmed that you were beautiful, that, like, oh my gosh, before that, you were not beautiful. But now that they said it, you are beautiful. That's not what that means. If somebody calls you beautiful, they are commenting on something that's already true about you. You were already beautiful before they said that. So they are just reminding you of that. But the amount of people that call you beautiful does not equate to how beautiful you are. And so if you're not hearing that attention as much, it doesn't mean that you're not beautiful. And I've had to teach myself that time and time again because it does feel nice to hear that from other people. And even when I was talking to my friend about like how I was like, girl, what do you mean people have liked me in the past? Like that just seems like unreal. Doesn't seem real that somebody that didn't say it out loud that they liked me has liked me. Like that seems like a myth. So even then, if somebody's like, oh my gosh, I like you. That doesn't mean that nobody has ever liked you in your life and like only that person that spoke up did. That person was the only one that had the guts to speak up. Everybody else may have felt that, but there may have been something that have held them back. If they didn't think that it was going to work out, maybe they were scared, maybe their feelings changed. I don't know. But again, it's very important not to take people's commentary as the ultimate validation because it is not consistent and it doesn't have to be your identity. Your identity is you, and how you view yourself genuinely matters the most because if not, you will give that power to other people. Secondly, romantic relationships shouldn't be put on a pedestal over friendships, and that can also mean romantic crushes as well because when we have a crush, sometimes when we are in our feels, we can sometimes overlook the red flags that we clearly know are just not great. And there's some things where maybe we're not aware at the time and it comes up later, but some things we see in the moment, but we don't want to accept it. We don't want to see things for what they are. We want to see things for what they could be or like somebody's potential to grow in this area that they need to grow in by themselves and not drag you into that. It's just a reminder that your friendships in your life, if you have those people in your life that you care about and they care about you and they respect you and they love you and they treat you with so much, like it's the type of friendships where you're just like, this is the standard. These friendships are my soulmates. You need to hold those people that you are trying to pursue and see a future with to that same standard because they're going to be the people that also end up being super close to you and super important to you. So you wouldn't want to spend it with somebody who is literally taking away from you. If you already see that, unfortunately, some people, they are blindsided and it sucks. But if you can kind of see some things, it is going to be so worth it to make that decision to, when the time is right, let go and walk away and pursue something else or pursue healing and focus on yourself. Third, allow other forms of love to soften your heart to the right type of love. Like, try to think of a memory with a friend recently where you just felt so loved and you're like, I'm so lucky to have this friend. It could be a really sweet message. They sent you a sweet comment on Instagram, a sweet gift they got you, anything like that where you're just like, wow, I'm so lucky to have this friend. Like, that is also a form of love. Even though it's not the same as romantic love, I know that it's not the same, okay? And it's still valid to still want romantic love in your life. I still do. I'm not anti-boyfriend. I don't know if I made that clear in here. When there's other people in your life trying to pour into you and love you, accept that and allow that to remind you that there's still genuine people in this world, even though there unfortunately is a lot of brokenness and a lot of people who are not the safest people. They're not the most genuine people, not the most trustworthy people. But also because you exist, that means there's hope. That means there is somebody genuine and worth investing into. Last point, you can be afraid, but you don't have to live afraid. Being afraid versus living in fear are two different things. Being afraid is normal. Everybody feels fear at some point. Some people have actual anxiety. So I get it. I get it. And that's okay. It can be scary to be like, what is my future going to be like? How is this stage of my life going to affect my future? Like, how long am I going to be in this place? Like, how am I going to continue to adjust in my independence? And it can also be scary to open yourself up to new people again. Hello, it is scary. You don't have to move in fear, which can really stop you from actually being able to cross paths with people who are actually genuine and loving and good, even if they're just for a season, or even if they're not like supposed to be like your actual like boyfriend. And as I said in like my videos before, like it's unfortunate reality that we can do all the right things and we can still hurt people, which sucks, and they can still hurt us. But while there's also hurt in the world, there also is love, and it's worth pushing through to experience that as you continue to heal and to grow. And I feel like our 20s is just a time for trying, failing, getting back up. You're not the only one experiencing a lot of really hard feelings. And I mentioned a lot of stuff in here. There's so many different factors that can contribute to why it can be hard to date, like the environments we're in, the mindsets we grew up with. But I'm glad I've grown out of this need to like think that there's something wrong with me, that I'm behind, that I should feel shamed, and put less pressure on myself to always get things perfectly. Like all I can do is try my best with the information I know and move accordingly. But I'm going to be okay. I'm going to be okay. Singleness in your 20s is not a sign of embarrassment, but a sign of strength. And I'm so proud of you for everything you pushed through this year, the things that people know about, the things that people don't know about. It's not easy, but we're still here, and I'm still here with you. So always talk about it and to normalize things that maybe are embarrassing to talk about. So thank you so much for listening to this podcast episode. This was a little bit spontaneous, so I really hope everything worked out. If you are watching on YouTube, please subscribe. And if you are listening on Spotify and Apple Podcast, please follow the pages so you know exactly when the next podcast will be out. If you want to continue to keep up between the podcast, you can go ahead and follow my Instagram and TikTok linked below in the description. So I'm really grateful I could just sit down and do this. But I'm going to go inside now and see my family again. Bye.